Brandon Crow watching from Hockey Canada. Writes in and he says, my wife and her two sisters all played NCAA Division I hockey. They attribute it to waiting around that chute as kids and using those prairie oysters as hockey puck. Shooting them for the dog. Here's
Bingo!
one. All the raw testicles that I collected one day, I put them in a margarine container. Remember the old Imperial margarine that had the purple crowns around it? I put them all in there, and I took them to a party, a bush party. You've been there, Moose. You weren't at that one, but you've been to them. Yeah. And I was going to cook them. I was going to cook them and make people eat them and not tell them what they were till after. But it didn't matter because Philip Kenyon took one, popped it in his mouth, crunched it raw. And he was smiling, and the blood ran down.
And he knew what it was?
I will never forget. He knew what it was. Philip Kenyon.
That was Fear Factor before there was Fear Factor with Joe Rogan.
I know. Beer might have been involved. But the next time that we're driving to Montana, I'll show you exactly where it is, because a lot of stuff went down at that site. A lot of stuff. I'm not going to go any further, but just remind me later. I'll tell you about the bikers that were on their way back from Sturgis from the rally that stopped at our party.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors, 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I was sitting there in the press box at the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone. I just died. And he goes, don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something? No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going.
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Rick Regan. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got a very special treat for you today. Listen up. Episode number 1348 of Canada's favorite daytime sports talk show is minus Darren Moose DuPont. He is on a plane right now to Bali, Indonesia. Don't ask. Scott Morganroth joins us, the Motor City Madmouth from the South Florida Tribune. We may never need the Moose again. How you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great. Boy, that's a big compliment. If you don't need the Moose.
You can live up to it. You can live up. This guy is the publisher of the South Florida Tribune. He's an author, broadcaster, all the rest. And he's been very gracious to sit in with us on the program today as the co-host. Listen, just trust me. He's legit. You're legit, right, Scott?
I hope so. After 44 years in this business, takes me more than 44 years to get in this business, I'm in deep trouble.
Yeah, there you go, folks. Listen, we're all about entertainment here. We don't take ourselves too seriously, so just sit back and relax and enjoy the Motor City Madmouth, and you're going to get to enjoy his very unique personality as we roll. The other guest coming up, Alan May from the Washington Capitals Television Network, Monumental Sports. Alan May later on in hour one. And Adam Burke, managing editor of VSIN Live out of Las Vegas, going to join us to talk about their upcoming NHL Betting book. Those are the guests. The Motor City Madmouth is with me. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan? And we'll give her. By the way, the Motor City Madmouth is our first live in-studio guest here in our brand new South Florida studio here. So welcome, man. Welcome.
Well, I'm glad to be the first, and thank you very much. It's going to be a lot of fun, Rod. I mean, I've had you on my platform, and now we get to do it on yours.
Yeah, we've been doing this 5-6 months together on his, or weeks together on his. We're going to start with hockey, even though you're originally from Detroit. We're going to get to baseball and a lot of other things. But our number one point, because it is Canada,
all right,
hockey. The visiting Ottawa Senators scored 4 consecutive power play goals to erase a 2-0 deficit last night en route to a 4-3 NHL preseason victory over the Montreal Canadiens. Adam Gaudette and Carter Yakimchuk led the Senators with a goal and an assist. Joel Armia had 2 assists for the 2-3 Habs, who have lost 3 straight preseason games. The Senators improved to 3-1, but lost Brady Tkachuk and Tim Stützle due to injury. Meanwhile, Zach Aston Reese scored twice as the visiting Vegas Golden Knights whipped the Colorado Avalanche 6-1 in NHL preseason play. And elsewhere, the New York Rangers beat the Devils 5-4 at MSG, but New York star Artemi Panarin left the game with injury. We don't care about preseason results, but there's a story at crescendo coming to that. But I just want to read you this. Laverne writes in from Swift Current on the 902 text line. You can see the number on the screen to reach us, 902-518-3033. Says, hey, Rod, so I watched the Ottawa-Montreal game. Talk about old school hockey. A shame it wasn't a regular season game. I guess my gut feeling is the preseason is too long, especially with that type of passion. Not saying I don't like it. Take care, my friend. That's from Laverne in Swift Current. So I know we're going a million miles an hour here, Motor City Mammoth, but you're enough of a hockey fan, and you read my column in your newspaper this week, your publication. Right. Everybody's getting hurt. What are they going to do?
What are they going to do? Shorten the preseason like the NFL's going to do, right? That's what I would always suggest. You know, I understand passionate hockey, but there comes a fine line that during the preseason that you have to give some of your regulars a little bit of a break, and then as time goes on, you bring on. One thing about the National Hockey League, you have 82 games, and I'm telling you, when you get to the Stanley Cup, it is another grind. So, you know, I give these guys an awful lot of credit for what they do. The coaches have to be a lot smarter. Otherwise, the trainers are going to be doing a lot of extra work.
Yeah, and it sounds like they are. We just saw the report the other day that Patrick Laine is going to be out weeks, the flashy newcomer to the Montreal Canadiens. It's not good, but it's funny. Folks, I've been working with Scott for quite some time now with the South Florida Tribune, and it scares me that we're on the same path mentally. That should be scary for you.
Yeah, it is. Not that you ask. It is scary. But you know what, folks, there's the acronym called GMTA. You know what that stands for? A lot of people, great minds think alike, so it's okay. Great
minds think alike. But that was what I was thinking, Scott, was that the NFL, two things. One, they shortened the preseason from 4 games to 3, and then the vets don't play.
Well, don't worry. Wait till they shorten it to 2 and they get the 18-game
that's
schedule,
coming.
a.k.a. the CFL, right, where you have 18 games and then 2 preseason. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So, but of course, NFL players at that point will like to be paid for 18 games instead of 17. So,
yeah, it just seems to me that the NFL is far further ahead than the NHL in terms of they shorten the preseason and they don't play vets. That's what's going to solve their problems, right?
Think? What about revenue? $18 billion versus $6 billion?
That's a different.
No, it isn't. The bottom line is you're talking about distance. Well, I'm just stating the fact. I mean, there's nothing trending about.
Well, they're way ahead of the NFL. They're way ahead of the NHL in a lot of regards. But I just mean as far as the preseason goes.
Well, no, I know. I'm just kidding with you because now if you want to go that far, I could go back to the United States Football League back in the early 80s when the USFL had 18 games as well. So, you know, you're talking about the inevitability of an 18-game schedule. We all know hockey is a grind. You don't want to lose players during the preseason. Nobody's saying that you're going to play patty cake, baker's man either. But the reality is preseason should be to give the younger guys an opportunity to play a lot more, find out what kind of depth you have in your system, and some organizations get it, some don't.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Joshua Dorr has shown up. He goes, Scott Morgan Roth, the Motor City Madmouth, in all caps. Your fan club's shown up, Scott.
Oh, come on. We like to bring an audience. You don't just come here empty-handed.
Exactly. John Ohm is watching in Winnipeg. This is what I like to do. John Ohm. He says, are these guys showing up not in shape or what? I don't think that's it.
What's your favorite fast food place in Canada?
If I'm dying the next day, I can only pick one. Taco Time.
All right, well, maybe they've had too many taco times. I'm sure they got McDonald's out there.
We do, but Taco Time is number 1 for me. So what I tell you, this guy is very entertaining. Moving on to point 2. By the way, we run the show very similar to how you run Fire Up Florida. It's very similar, just different topics. So point 2, Fernando, you noticed?
Hardly.
Yeah, Fernando Tatis hit a towering 2-run homer on his first playoff swing in 4 years as the San Diego Padres beat the Atlanta Braves 4-0 in Game 1 of their best-of-3 NL wildcard series. San Diego's Michael King struck out 12 in his first postseason start. The Padres were the only home team to win on Tuesday. 3 road teams recorded wins in Game 1 of the best-of-3s. The Mets beat the host Milwaukee Brewers 8-4. In the American League, the surging Detroit Tigers dumped the Astros 3-1 in Houston, and the Kansas City Royals blanked the Orioles 1-0 in Baltimore. The home teams need to win today to avoid elimination. How much baseball did you watch on Tuesday?
I watched the Detroit Tigers is what I did. I mean, obviously, they are my hometown team. I've covered them a lot. I can tell you right now that on 108 Stitches baseball talk on Monday, I predicted the Mets would beat the Brewers. And I'll tell you why I did predict that, even though my wife didn't particularly like it because she's from there. But the Mets have had to play hard playoff baseball to get into the tournament. And you know what? When you play pressure-packed baseball to get in the tournament, Milwaukee's had a little time to digest that division title. It doesn't surprise me about what the Mets did in game one. Now, can they follow it up with another performance? If they do, then I guarantee that the cheeseheads will be drinking a lot of beer for all the wrong reasons after the Metropolitans take care of business.
We are already on a theme that I didn't plan to get, and that's fast food. Brent from Wellington, Florida, watching right now, writes in, he says, taco time. I'll buy if you drive. It's that good, man. It puts Taco Bell to shame. I've been ordering the same thing since high school. Taco time. Brent's originally from Canada. He would know. Joshua Outdoor says they're eating too much KFC. Scott, that's what it is. It's KFC.
Yeah, I know where he's going with that. Let me go ahead and add some clarity. Joshua Outdoor was determined with Jesse Stauber, who does appear on our shows once in a while in the chat room, to get that KFC plug. So ever since I've been mandated by my doctor to try to lose a little bit of weight, I've been having to eliminate a little bit of KFC.
Ooh, that's
because
tough.
it is painful because I love that extra crispy stuff. And they all want these wedge fries there. Hey, listen, I don't control the KFC corporate people. I really don't. The only thing I can tell you about KFC is I did visit the gravesite of Colonel Sanders out in Louisville, Kentucky, over at Cave Creek Cemetery, also the home of Muhammad Ali, among other people.
I bet you that was a greasy grave spot. John Ohm says, I'm liking Scotty. I know. He's a beauty. And just one more from John. Wants to know what your favorite fast food is.
My favorite fast food actually is Subway.
Is that right?
Yeah, it really is. That's one of the only healthy ones out there, but I like Subway.
Okay, so moving on, trying as much as we can to stay on point. We want to welcome a brand new sponsor to the program this week, Culligan. Drink clean, live green. Filter your water for a healthier tomorrow. Culligan Water of Regina. Visit CulliganRegina.com. I'm going to be honest with you. We could do 2 hours on this topic alone with the Motor City Madmouth. Point 3 is this. Pete Rose found a home in Las Vegas where acceptance wasn't a problem. Baseball's career hits leader died Monday at the age of 83. The man known as Charlie Hustle for his relentless play on the base paths picked a place to live that embraced legalized sports betting long before most of the rest of the nation caught on. Pete was a regular at autograph sessions throughout the Las Vegas area. I talked yesterday about seeing him at one. He engaged with those who approached him to talk about his glory days with the Reds and Phillies, and maybe even to commiserate about why he isn't eligible or wasn't for the Hall of Fame. Too late now. He died Monday, so whether they put him in now or not is irrelevant. I could go fix a sandwich and eat because go on Pete Rose. Go.
Well, I'll tell you, it isn't irrelevant. It's very relevant now. And I'll tell you why it is relevant, because I think a lot of people wanted to go out there and wait till he had passed away. Now, whether it actually happens or not, ask Shoeless Joe Jackson whether he's gotten in after a century's worth. So, it's one of those debates where, let's face it, there's a written notice on every clubhouse. You're not allowed to bet on baseball, and Pete did it. But here's the thing, okay? There's one thing you don't do. Don't you ever have an autograph signing during induction weekend in Cooperstown. If you do, you're committing reputational suicide. And he has made mistakes. I don't want to sit here and incorporate suicide in ways that we know it.
You're fine.
But the analogy is very appropriate. And that being this, you knew it, you lied about it, you wrote a book on it, then you came clean, and you expect everybody to realize that you profited on that book, and to compound it, you have double jeopardy is what you have. You profited on it, you lied to a lot of people publicly about it, and now you're selling your book, making a profit then? Seriously? Really? Those are my two favorite words nowadays.
I know they are.
Yeah, because that allows me to say from a lot of the expletives that most people would do. But, you got to find a couple words. I'm not going to trademark them because for anybody that's ever trademarked anything, it does get a little bit expensive.
Daniel writes in and says, loved Pete Rose. Listen, I did too, and that's as a kid collecting his baseball cards and stuff, but you covered the Reds, and maybe we should explain to them. You got a little more depth of knowledge here, certainly, than I do. Sounds like you don't think he should go in the Hall of Fame then because of his own actions.
You know what? I'm mixed about it. And I'll tell you why. I've been in the Hall of Fame a few times. You certainly want the greatest players in there, but and it's a museum telling baseball's story. You do. By the same token, he broke a rule that he knew about and did it anyways. So how can you logically put him in when you know you make a mistake, you're diving into dangerous territory, but you did it anyways?
In the 80s, was there a sign in the clubhouse not to bet?
Absolutely. You bet. That's been on there for years.
Okay, you would know because you were in those clubhouses.
Well, sure, I've been in clubhouses, yeah. You just don't do it. There's certain things you just don't do, and he did. But then, let's go back to an interesting political thing that happened many years ago, and you'll know where I'm talking about. We're talking about the Watergate scandal many years ago in the United States where Richard Nixon had to resign and was nearly impeached until Gerald Ford took over. Sometimes the cover-up is worse than the crime. And that's the only message I'm trying to really convey here is the cover-up is worse than the crime. And that's exactly what occurred in Pete Rose's situation. And as a result, nobody's going to allow him in. I can't see it. You have Rob Manfred and Bud Selig who slammed the door down. And, I'm finding it hard to believe he will get in. But so many people would like to send the message that he's posthumously. You could do it. Time will tell.
Well, at that point, to me, it's why would you? People have said, well, it's for his family. And I'm like, what did his family do? They weren't out collecting the most hits ever in Major League Baseball history. They weren't 17-time All-Stars. It's him, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I buy the for his family business at all.
No, I don't either.
So I'm going to probably do something I don't really do very often, defer and not say a whole lot. And believe me,
if you had a yes or no vote, what would you vote? In or not in? Cooperstown.
Well, you know what? Considering I'm a baseball man through and through I would still say yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I would because of the fact that, but remember, though, you don't have the all-time home run king in with Barry Bonds either. You don't have a lot of guys that in the 3,000 hit club are in there for different reasons. So, you can make an argument that they belong in there, that they were cheaters, and this guy bet. So, what I would do with the steroids guys is I would put them in a separate steroid section and put an asterisk around their records. But I don't think that's going to happen because they have an exhibit talking about that era.
The steroid wing of Cooperstown.
The steroid winger. Put him somewhere in there. They can bury him somewhere in the Cooper. The place is big enough if you've ever been there. But, but to stay on topic with Rose, I would put him in there anyway. But why not wait another 5 or 10 years? Will the millennials really know anyways? And let me also preface something that you said, too, about my background with the Reds. I think you make a good point, and I want clarity out there so people understand. Many years ago, I worked for the Tampa Tribune, okay? And I had an opportunity to cover the Tampa Tarpons, who are the Class A affiliate of the Cincinnati Reds, and I covered them for 2 years. I saw some great players there. One of my favorites of all time was actually Joe Oliver.
Make it quick because we got to take a break here right away.
Okay, but...
Do you want to finish on the other side of the break?
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, and we'll get to the poll question, which is Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League. I'll handle that. Scott won't. We'll be right back. Told you the guy. Look at him.
Oh, I love it. This is a blast.
He's entertaining. We'll be right back here on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio in Atlanta, streaming live on YouTube and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
We're all capable of doing more. more speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
The RP Show is brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars in games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use promo code RP Show for 15% off at checkout. Check us out now at seatgiant.ca. By the way, just before Scott picks back up with his Red story and why he's got a little more depth of knowledge with Pete Rose than any of us, our poll that we do every Wednesday is, what is Canada's game of the week in the Canadian Football League? We're not going to ask Scott about that. You're welcome. Your options and leading is Winnipeg at Hamilton. Is leading the way. The battle of the two hottest teams in the Canadian Football League Friday night in Hamilton. Blue Bombers at Tiger Cats. Then later that night, must win for the Calgary Stampeders that are home to the BC Lions. Or Saturday, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, my former team, can clinch a playoff berth with a win at Edmonton. Just 3 games, and leading the way, winning the poll is Winnipeg at Hamilton. We'll be talking far more about those games as the week moves along. Back to the Motor City Madmouth, the publisher of the South Florida Tribune, Scott Morganroth. Do you remember where you were in that story?
In that story?
About the Reds.
Well, I'll just start again.
Yeah. Start again.
All right. So anyways, okay. But, I'm pulling for the BC Lions because I have a Lion type of thing in me with the Detroit Lions.
Gotcha. Perfect.
All right. So I give you that anyways. Hey, once upon a time, though, I did interview Wally Bono.
Stay on point, please.
Oh, okay. No, but
I want to hear the Wally story, but Reds
all
first.
Right. Yeah. No, okay. But I will mention Wally shortly.
Okay.
But anyways, where I was working for the Tampa Tribune and covering the Florida State League Tampa Tarpons. We had a lot of good players, too, that really came through. But one of the ones that stood out was Joe Oliver.
Oh, yeah, first baseman of the Expos.
Yeah, I think it was I think it was he first base or catcher, either way. But my favorite person on that team was a manager, Mark Bombard. And Mark and I, Bombi, one thing about our industry is you have to build relationships. So I was covering the Marlins, not the Marlins, the Tarpons, excuse me, for 2 years. And you know how I ended up getting the beat was my executive editor, Joe DeSalvo, knew I had a Florida State League background covering the Fort Lauderdale Yankees, who were out here in Fort Lauderdale. And I said, Joe, I really would like to cover the Tarpons, because back then at the Tribune, I was trying to make money during the summer to stay afloat so I could keep paying for a school. So you know what he said? I'm glad you came in here. I'm glad you lobbied for it, but you were the only one I was considering all along.
Nice.
Is what it was. So that was cool. So meanwhile, while I'm covering the Tarpons, one of my favorite editors is Rick Nelson, who happens to be in my book, Lessons from the Microphone. And he says to me, there's a guy named Mark Schmetzer who has Reds View magazine. And he said, Mark, I've got the guy for you to write. And he said,
Reds View of the Reds.
And actually, it's spelled REDSVUE. And they were based out of Cincinnati. So, Mark takes his recommendation. I wrote, and they love my stuff. I would cover the fantasy baseball down there. I would have a chance to do spring training. So I got to see the Reds a little bit more, but I got to do a little bit more than the average writer would do for the Tribune. It was just great. My association with the Reds is really good. Now, let's speed the clock up a little. I don't know how many people realize, but the Cincinnati Reds have another team in the Florida State League, the Daytona Tortugas, up in Daytona Beach at Jackie Robinson Ballpark. So it's kind of neat when I've had an opportunity to revisit there. Another guy, too, the name is Lenny Harris. Lenny Harris is a guy who I believe owns one of the top pinch hitting marks in Major League Baseball. So I do have an affinity for the Reds. I really, really do. And, I had a chance to see Rose a few times during spring training. And let's face the reality, I'll take the story a little further with Pete Rose. And that's this. I interviewed Ray Fosse a few years ago when I was covering spring training out in Arizona. And I talked to Ray Fosse about the collision, and Ray was really good about it. So, you hate to see those kinds of collisions occur during the All-Star game, and unfortunately, Ray's career was never the same.
Right.
But Ray did well after baseball because he was an announcer for the Oakland A's.
Yeah, so just pull it back. That's his history with the Reds and Pete Rose, and why his opinion on this matters a little more than a lot of ours. But so our point 4 was the Canadian Football League games. We'll get to the Wally Buono story maybe next hour, because
no problem.
But staying on football, the biggest news in the NFL over the last 24, well, some of the news is Buffalo Bills edge rusher Von Miller was suspended 4 games by the NFL on Tuesday for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The NFL did not reveal the reason for the suspension, which comes as Buffalo prepares to play at the Houston Texans on Sunday. That's just one news item that I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, because we try to keep it positive here. But I want to tell you this, as I was running this morning on the treadmill at Johnny O's gymnasium, Jason Garrett, the former coach of the Dallas Cowboys, was on Mike Florio's Pro Football Talk Show, talking about the Dolphins. And Jason Garrett, I'm a Cowboys fan, I think, as you know. Right. And I like Jason Garrett. He played for the Cowboys. He coached the Cowboys. It didn't end well, but it never does in Dallas. He was analyzing the Dolphins. And he goes, I think Chris Greer, the GM, is as good a football mind as there is, but he made a mistake by not having a competent veteran backup behind Tua, knowing his injury history.
Right.
And this season's over, right, here for the Dolphins?
I don't think it ever started.
Well, with a healthy Tua, they had a chance.
No, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why I say that, okay? Number one, they gave this guy a lot of money, right? But he's only had one healthy season in his entire career. One. Why do you think Ryan Fitzpatrick why Brian Flores wanted him there? Because he knew of Tua's questionable history. You can say anything you want about Tua and how great he is, but what good are you if you're not on the football field? And he has had a very, injury-riddled history is what he has. So I think the Dolphins made a mistake when they let, was it Mike White go up to Buffalo?
There's a million of them been through here, yeah.
Right. No, but Mike White was brought in here a year ago to make sure you had a suitable backup. You let him go to Buffalo. Great. So now you really think Tua's going to last an entire year, and he's being paid a boatload of money, right? And all of a sudden, the Dolphins are going to be dealing, how long do we have this guy? You know, and when you wonder how long, and now there's all kinds of different things going on in their head. But the real moral of the story is this: they should have drafted Justin Herbert instead of Tua Tagovailoa, because he was a much more ready NFL quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. All you have to do is look at the film. You're talking about a pro passing quarterback versus the guy that's running around putting himself in harm's way. That's what you're doing.
Yep.
And that's where the Dolphins have some issues.
Yeah, I just wondered, because listening to Garrett speak, I can see why he's now on television. He's a commanding speaker. He's a leader.
Right.
And he said very nice things about Chris Greer, but he just said, this was a mistake. He goes, I'm sorry to say it, but this is my role now. I have to analyze these things. And it was with Florio, who I really like.
Right.
But, I mean, to sit and assign blame now is almost pointless. Sort of like, what are you going to do? They're not going to fire Chris Greer over this, I wouldn't think.
No, I think you leave Chris Greer alone right now because they had high expectations. You brought in Odell Beckham Jr. as another wideout. He hasn't played yet. You know you have Jalen Waddle. He's pretty good. Tyreek Hill is great, no matter what his off-field transgressions are or drama when you get to the stadium. But the guy can catch. He can run. He's a premier receiver in the league. So I'm not going to go out there and hold anything against Chris Greer at the moment. But there's no question Chris Greer could have made a much better choice as a backup quarterback. You're going with Skylar Thompson. What happens? He gets banged up. Now you're at Tyler Huntley. You don't know what's going to happen with Tua Tagovailoa. So here's what you have. You have Abbott Costello revisited. Instead of who's on first, what's on second, who's my quarterback, who is my quarterback, and who will be my quarterback. So, you know, for all you people that like to juggle, like to go to the circus and juggle over there, well, the Dolphins are juggling, but this isn't the time of the year that you want to be juggling.
Yeah, well, that's one thing. And by the way, I just sprinkled in our comments. Scott was asking in the break, how's it going? I'm like, awesome. A little change is great. Monty in Saskatoon writes in. He goes, where's Moose? The Moose is on a plane to Indonesia, and it's the last time I'll address the question. Period. They changed his flight. He was supposed to be on the show today, and Scott was good enough to join us, and he's doing a great job. Freddie in Winnipeg writes in, sort of about Pete Rose, I guess, and those steroid baseball players. He goes, listen, cheaters never prosper, but Scotty does. Awesome chat.
Thank you very much for the kind word, buddy. I appreciate it.
That's from Freddie in Winnipeg. So two things. One, there's this meme going around. Scott said he's not the biggest Instagram guy, but I'm sure you know what a meme is. And it was in the Dolphins colors, and it said, anybody who knows how to throw a spiral. Did you see that one? Anybody that knows how to throw a spiral, show up at Hard Rock Stadium Monday. We're having tryouts at noon or something. It was not funny.
Well, can I make a confession?
Yeah.
I don't know what a meme is.
It's just it's a post on Instagram, basically joke stuff designed to make you laugh.
Okay, but right now we can create a meme on me because I can make you laugh. I don't know what that thing is anyways.
There you go.
Have at it. You got the body here. You got the hat. Make sure you get the head in
Motor
there.
City Mad Mouth. Well, here's another one. If you say you're enjoying the chat, because it's just me and Scott, two sports buddies talking in long time in the media, but the viewers like the chat too. So the other night, I'm at the Panther game. Scott's at the FAU Wagner game, and I see a photo from after the game. You're with Owls head coach Tom Herman, which I think of him as a Longhorns coach, but he's with the Owls now. And you got him wearing your hat. You guys are hugging each other. What does this mean, by the way? This?
Oh, it's the owl.
That's
symbol.
the owl symbol?
Yeah, they got me to do that. I didn't know what it was, but when they told me to do it, I did it.
But Tom Herman, y'all know who Tom Herman is? Talk about how that went down. We got 3 minutes.
Well, number one, he used to be Ohio State, so, you know, I had a good Midwest relationship there. Anyways, a year ago, okay, Tom Herman walks in there. Never met the guy before. Sees my hat. Motor City Mad Mouth. I like the hat. Really? Okay. Hit him with a couple of hard, controversial questions. Let's see what he's made out of. Okay. And he answered them well. Said, you know, I like that hat. Why don't you get me one of those? So really, no coach has ever asked me for a hat. And if you want to hear the rest of the story in the short form, Ron will tell you I have a book, Lessons from the Microphone. I did actually put that in there. But anyways, I came back to the Wagner game, and I went out there, and he said, hey, you got the hat? I said, written over here. I said, all it's going to cost you is a picture. Let's go. So he went out there, took the photo. I said, Brian, get over here. Why don't we do all three of us? And then all three of us had that, and boom, you got 1-2 pictures, and it's right up there for everybody to see.
The Motor City Madmouth. Go check him out. Go follow him on social media. Follow South Florida Tribune on Instagram, and you'll see all of these things. By the way, Joshua.
And this. Do you mind showing it?
Yeah. Well,
here, put it up there.
Yeah, this is Scott's book. In hour 2, because we're running out of time in this segment, we'll talk more about Scott's book. It is Lessons from the Microphone, tuning into the enduring wisdom of visionary leaders. I'm sounding like your wife, Candy, as I read that.
Very good.
Right. We'll talk more about it. It's a great book, and we'll talk about it in hour 2. Joshua writes in, he says, Rod, I think you were sitting right in front of me at the Hurricanes game, but I didn't notice you. The pic you posted was right by me. You people in South Florida need to get to use, you've known Scott for a long time, but with me, I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be everywhere. Where I am, where I'm not, he is. Where he's not, I am.
Right.
We're everywhere. So come up and say hi. I'm getting this all the time. People are writing me after the fact. Hey, Rod, I think I saw you at the Sawgrass Mills Mall in the food court. Hey, Rod, I think I saw you at the Owls game. Yeah, I was there. Come up and say hi. Don't wait until after. Joshua, you know that. Scott wrote a book. That's kind of a bit of an inside joke from Fire Up Florida. And by the way, Daniel writes in, Landon writes in, says, the Riders can clinch a spot in the playoffs this week. Go Riders. Yeah, we're aware. And we'll be discussing it as we get closer to the weekend. It's only Wednesday. Just please vote in our poll for what's Canada's game of the week. We're going to be talking NHL when we come back. Alan May from Monumental Sports Network in Washington joins us. We're live from South Florida, though, on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at IKSGameDay.com.
Now the race is on and here comes pride in the backstretch.
Celebrate 40 years of Sawyer Brown.
Some girls don't like boys like me.
With Shenandoah.
You got to get me to the church on the Cumberland Road.
Plus special guest George Fox. Saturday, October 26th, Moose Jaw Event Center.
I'll take the dirt road.
Tickets are on sale now at the Moose Jaw Event Center box office or online at sasktix.ca.
6 days on the road and I'm
Sawyer Brown and Shenandoah live.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, everybody, welcome back. And by the way, sports fans, join the Rod Squad newsletter today. Stay ahead of the game with exclusive insights, updates, and contests, and exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up for free today at rodpedersen.com. The Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth, is with us from the South Florida Tribune, originally from the Motor Cities. Welcome to sit in on this interview with Alan May, Monumental Sports in Washington, longtime Capitals TV analyst. And there he is. Mayday! Alan, Scott can't hear you, so it's just going to be me. By the way, Happy New Year. How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again, and happy you're back in Florida.
Oh, thank you. Not as happy as me, and you get it. Can't wait to see you down here, Alan. And listen, this is what I see out of the NHL preseason is injuries. We had more last night, multiple injuries in the Ottawa game for the Senators against Montreal. How have the Caps made out health-wise, Alan, through this preseason?
Well, the Caps have gone unscathed, but once again, they're not playing in any heated rivalry games like you're seeing up north in Canada. There's a whole different tone of intensity, what you have south of the border and what you have up top. When you have people selling out the arenas, I think in the United States, they should pay the fans to have to watch the painful hockey that we see in a preseason game. Back when I played, I've told you this before, they should have charged triple or quadruple for preseason games with all of the events that went on. And a lot of players did get hurt back then, but it was a survival of the fittest. Now it's guys kind of pacing themselves. It's no-hit hockey. Then you have a guy that might go out there and throw a hit. In Canada, we're seeing that high intensity in every single preseason game. They're acting like it's the last game of the year, and they're going out for to exact revenge. We saw a lot of it the last couple nights.
We really shouldn't be surprised, should we? And you talk about me being back in Florida. I used to think that 49th parallel was just a virtual line. It's Canada, USA. No, it might as well be the Berlin Wall 10 feet high, because the way they play hockey in Canada is a lot different than the way they play hockey in the USA, especially this time of year. And, Alan, they should have known this with rivalry games, that they were going to go after each other this hard, don't you think?
Well, you would think so. And here in the U.S., we're dealing with college football, high school football. The National Football League has started up. So hockey season, I've told you this many times, in Dallas or Washington, D.C., when the last game of the playoffs or the last game of the regular season was played, hockey's over until game one of the next season. And the fans don't have an appetite for it. The preseason games aren't really marketed. It's part of your season ticket plan. Those people don't go to the games by and large. And in Canada, people, this is what you do. Hockey's such a big part of what we do. Junior hockey, all the U18, 16, 14, everyone's playing already back home. The colleges are in full swing. So they've got a lot more interest. But back home, hockey, it's so important. That's what makes it so fun come playoff time. But right now, we're seeing a big difference in the USA and Canada results in the games. And the fisticuffs, the late hits, the dirty plays, that's going on almost 100% north of the border right now. South of the border, we had a game the other night I covered that had 2 periods without a hit. So it's a lot different brand of hockey south of the border.
Well, you would just get a kick because you've been living down here for so long, like 40 years almost, Alan, and it's just all my friends here are giving me their tickets for the Panthers games, preseason games. I'm like, you don't want to go? The exhibit, they just don't go. You're right, exactly. I mean, what are you talking about? You're not following what's going on. But anyways, we have questions from the crowd. Bomber Boy wants to know if Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to center Ovi this year and help him break Gretzky's record. What's that looking like in camp?
Well, they'll go back and forth with he and Dylan Strome, and it's not going to be 100%. But one of the things they're toying with in D.C. and he's looked really good right now, Pierre-Luc Dubois, with Tom Wilson. Both guys are 6'3", 6'4", whatever you believe, and their heights are both about 230 pounds of muscle. And then they're thinking about doing this. It's either Connor McMichael or Alexei Protas. Alexei Protas is 6'6", almost 240 pounds. That would be an incredibly formidable line, what they could do on the boards. All three of those guys can skate. Connor McMichael can skate, but if you go with the size line, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first 10 to 20 games, Wilson and Dubois paired together, and then Andre Mangiapane playing right wing or left wing with Ovechkin and Strome, and Ovi and Mangiapane would probably flip-flop over the course of the season, depending on what the matchups are.
What are the other, that's a big development or a big story in camp, obviously, who Alex Ovechkin's playing with. What are the other stories here in the preseason for you guys?
Well, the big thing is Cap's fourth line looks like it's going to be really good once again. And I always say when you talk about the fourth line too much, you don't have that good of a team. But this fourth line, Brandon Duhaime has fit in incredibly well with Nick Dowd. Everyone fits in with Nick Dowd. He's been such an energy player, dependable on penalty kills, checking roles. And you add him with Duhaime, and then Taylor Radish is going to be a reclamation project. He scored 20 goals 2 years ago. And last year in Chicago, basically everyone had a bad season, minus Connor Bedard. And, you know, they were tailoring all the ice to him. They were giving him the power play time. Taylor Radish is coming here. He looks incredible. So that fourth line of the Capitals, they're all almost 6'3". I think Radish is a legit 6'3". Duhaime about 6'2.5". Nick Dowd on a good day, 6'2". And they're all high energy players. They've been outstanding during the preseason, but most fourth lines are outstanding in preseason if it's your NHL regular season fourth. And then the other thing that's looked incredibly good to the Capitals is that you've got Jacob Chychrun and John Carlson look like they've played together for 20 years. They're going to give them a legit chance. They're not going to just give them a couple games and break them up. They're going to let them go 20, 30, 40 games before they decide, do we split these guys up or do we let them munch all the minutes and take all the key ice time? And I think they're going to let them have all the key ice time because they've looked incredibly, incredibly well together.
South Florida's team, the Washington Capitals. You must have looked at the lineup and saw Jacob Chychrun, Boca Raton, Florida, Brandon Duhaime, Coral Springs, Florida. It's happening, baby. It's happening. Speaking of, you going to be making some road trips, Alan, this year with the Caps or what?
You know what? Last year I told them I really didn't want to travel, but that may change. I'll probably come down to the South Florida games because I'm here right now in Tampa with the business that I'm a partner in. And, you know, I'm trying to get as many NHL teams in to see our facilities and use our, you know, what we're doing in life prevention and, you know, preventative health. So selfishly, I will come for some of those trips to South Florida. But, you know, they built me a brand new $30 million studio. It's absolutely incredible, state of the art. My host is one of the best in the National Hockey League, if not the best. And when you look at what regional networks are doing. So, you know, I love working. I love covering this team. I'm happy that they went out and built a way better roster. I wasn't sure where we were going when the season ended, but I thought they did the most in free agency and in the trade market leading up to July 1st. They did an excellent job of restocking the shelves and giving the team legitimate players, adding another excellent goaltender to go with Charlie Lindgren. So I'm excited to cover this team, whether I'm with them on the road or I'm at home in the studio.
Sounds good, Alan. Well, I saw you had the great one in your office, if you will, or clinic down there in Tampa, so you're obviously doing something right. Thanks for the time, man. Always good seeing you. Good luck, and we'll see you when you come through.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Rod.
Alan May from Monumental Sports in Washington. When we come back, you all have questions for the Motor City Madmouth. I got them right in front of me. So are you ready to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
Of course you are. And a sports update because we got breaking news from the Blue Jays today and some Motor City Madmouth stories to go along with it. We'll be right back with all of that here on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, and, of course, streaming live on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Did you know you can catch all the best moments from the show on all our social media platforms? Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Hockey teams, are you looking for just the right place for your team bonding outings and sessions? Look no further than Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. With state-of-the-art equipment, spacious shooting lanes, and games for all ages, Overtime Hockey Lanes is the perfect destination to build teams, whether they're from the Calgary area or on a road trip from out of town. Book your lanes today, 28th Street Northeast, Calgary. Now, the sports update. 3 home teams and 1 road team will be trying to avoid elimination today when the American League and National League Best-of-3 wildcard series resume. The Houston Astros, Baltimore Orioles, and Milwaukee Brewers lost Game 1 at home yesterday. The Detroit Tigers, the Motor City Madhouse Detroit Tigers, beat the Astros 3-1. KC edged the Orioles 1-0, and the Mets beat the Brewers 8-4. The Padres beat the visiting Atlanta Braves 4-0. And while we're on the baseball topic, big news out of Blue Jay land today. Game Plus TV is anchored out of Toronto, of course, and just off downtown Toronto is where our studios are in Toronto, where the boys are up in the show right now. Guys, we heard Mark Shapiro, the president of the Blue Jays, announcing that Ross Atkins, the general manager, is coming back. That's not a surprise. Mike Wilner, a month ago on this show, told us that was going to happen. But there's more news with the Jays, and it's not bad news. Don Mattingly moving back to bench coach with the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, I believe he'd been the hitting coach. Talk about Mattingly,
Yeah.
your relationship with him.
Great relationship. He was actually overseeing a lot of what was going, but they need him as a bench coach. They don't need him doing the other stuff. Don Mattingly has always been a player's manager to begin with. Don Mattingly's a personal friend of mine. He really is. I got to know with the Miami Marlins, and you know what? We came together on some great questions, and he answered everything, and we just had a good time. And as time went on, as we continued to work together, a friendship started to develop with the two of us. So earlier this year, I had an opportunity to take my wife up there because Candy, my wife, is a photographer for the South Florida
The
Tribune.
Rolls Royce of women.
No, she is too. But she's a photographer, and she ends up taking pictures when she goes, and she just knows that Don and I get along well. Let me go back a little bit when I suffered some head injuries, okay? And it was hard because I wasn't able to drive at night. When you suffer concussions in a couple in a short period of time, don't take these head injuries lightly because they're bad. And I was talking to Don and said, man, I don't even know how to handle this stuff. So he says, listen, because now he's pulling me aside away from the writers. Now it's a one-on-one, you know. And
Don Mattingly, everybody.
Yeah, Don Mattingly pulled me in. Scott, listen, my players have had to deal with this before. I'm going to give you the same advice I give my players. You have got to find a way to be patient with this thing. It isn't going to happen overnight. He said, I feel you. I'm here for you. Anytime you need some moral support. But my players have dealt with it. You just have to follow the doctor's orders and do what they tell you to do. And, you know, it may take a year or two for you to get it figured out, but you just have to do it. I said, but it affects my ability to drive at night. He said, don't worry. I'm sure you'll be fine. But the main thing is he emphasized patience with me. Here's a manager talking to a reporter. I mean, that's what it looks like on the surface. But deeper below the surface, you're talking about two men who have become friends, okay? And as a result, now he's giving me advice from a personal standpoint to make sure I'm better. How many managers would go out of their way to do that? But the one thing I can tell you right now, folks, is when you build relationships, when you're in the media, out of the media, those relationships, if they're genuine, okay, end up becoming much deeper than they really are. And that's the thing I like about Don Mattingly. And he is, if you can't play for him as a manager, okay, then you can't play for him. Let's take it down to Miami a little bit, okay? If Don Mattingly couldn't win with the Miami Marlins, nobody can. And yet he's the all-time winningest manager there because it's a small market, budget-conscious team is what it is. Toronto's got themselves an asset there. They know they have one. You need him as a bench coach to be able to help out the manager. And I believe that even though it may not be the most highly publicized move up there, because in terms of moving them back and forth, it'll be a much bigger move than most Blue Jays people even realize that it really is.
There, look at that, summed up very well. So the Motor City Mad Mouth's going to be with us into hour two, right? You're
Absolutely.
Cool with that? And coming up, Adam Burke, managing editor from VSIN Live out of Las Vegas. I'll just tell you the sports updates brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. In Landmark Cinemas, October 4th, Joker, from acclaimed writer-director Todd Phillips, comes Joker fully due. The much-anticipated follow-up to the 2019 Academy Award-winning Joker, which earned more than $1 billion at the global box office and remains the highest-grossing R-rated film of all time. In Landmark Cinemas this Friday, Joker fully due. We got questions coming in for the Motor City Mad Mouth. Don't join the queue now. Let's put it that way. 902-518-3033. Get your questions in. We'll be back after this brief pause here on Game Plus Television and Key Radio.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
I was born to broadcast. So the World Juniors 2012, I'm calling the national radio feed. I was sitting there in the press box of the Saddle Dome like this, playing Pac-Man on my phone. Ray Ferraro, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "What are you doing?" "I'm playing Pac-Man on my phone." "I just died." And he goes, "Don't you have game prep to get ready for the game or something?" "No, I know the numbers. I know everything about them. Let's get the game going."
This is the Rod Pedersen Show.
Hey, everybody. Please do not adjust your sets. We're live on the Game Plus television network across Canada and 31 U.S. states. On the radio in Atlanta. Shout out Ryan O Radio down there, Ryan O'Neill. Host of the Radio Penitentiary every morning, 6 to 10 a.m. We are noon to 2 live on Key Radio, your southern home of sports and talk. And live streaming on YouTube. The reason I said don't adjust your set is we have a new co-host today, the lovely and talented, he's the Vanna White of sports.
Oh, don't go that far.
How about that? The Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morgan Roth from the South Florida Tribune by way of Detroit. That's where you were produced, right?
Yeah, produced.
But you've worked all over this country in great spots.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever called me Vanna White. She looks a whole lot better than I do. But yeah, I've definitely made the rounds throughout my 44 years.
He is the publisher of the South Florida Tribune, but you worked in Arizona, Tampa Bay, North Carolina.
And here in Florida.
Detroit, and then here in Florida. So the guy knows.
Well, Tampa and South Florida, a couple of markets.
Well, what exactly is South Florida? I feel like anything from the cutoff from the Panhandle over south is South Florida.
Yeah, but don't tell me that because you got University of South Florida located in Tampa.
That's what I'm saying.
Try to figure the logic there. I don't know. I got the ring, so it doesn't matter what the logic
He went to University of South Florida.
Appropriately named after me, the Bulls.
The Bulls. There you go.
People that find out what I'm really about when you're not doing the right thing, they'll realize that name fits you really good. But you have to add the word raging in front of it.
Can you hit the quick six show horn, please, Director Jordan? And I'll just tell everybody. Thank you. These are the topics that we covered in hour one. Why is the Motor City Madmouth here? Because the Moose, our regular co-host, is on a plane to Bali in Indonesia. I don't even know where that is. Pretty sure I'm never going to go. But Scott was good enough to come down here. We had a meeting here at our studio as it was ahead of the meeting. He's like, yeah, I'll be happy to come on and talk sports. So we've been talking about the NHL preseason and all the injuries that have come out of it. Pretty sure they'll be shortening the preseason. By the way, the Winnipeg Jets are home to the Flames tonight. The final home preseason game for the Jets. They'll visit the Flames on Friday, and those teams will be done the preseason. But some teams, like the Florida Panthers, have 8 games. Enough about that. Major League Baseball playoffs. 3 teams trying to stay alive today, and 4 teams trying to stay alive today. 3 road teams. Also, what did we talk about? Pete Rose, a lot of time spent on Pete Rose. We talked about Canada's Game of the Week in the Canadian Football League, which Scott doesn't have a lot of input in, but he does have one on someone, Wally Buono, which we'll get to in a second. And what's happening with the Dolphins, Von Miller. Those were all the things that we talked about last hour, and Alan May was with us from the Washington Capitals. Before we get to your Wally Buono story.
Sure.
Brian, well, we got a few. Somebody good, I don't know where to... Freddie in Winnipeg. Yeah, see, my mind's all over the place.
Well, that's good. That's why we get along so good, because all of our minds are all over the place.
Exactly. Freddie in Winnipeg says, hey, Rod, could you guys grab a beverage out of the red fridge behind you just to complete this great chat? Well, he's already down 1. You want to grab it? He's already crushed 1.
Well, yeah, grab me another one.
Are you ready for another one?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You sure you can handle a second Diet Coke, man? Be careful with this stuff.
I only had a 1.5 liters of Diet Mountain Dew. With Diet Coke, that's a walk in the park.
It's nothing.
That's called my gasoline.
So we are cracking the Diet Coke. That was the office studio warming gift from the beautiful Serena Taylor.
Yeah, it was. So,
yeah.
Cheers, Serena Taylor, for those individuals that want to go out there and see it. We can drink on the air, but at least it's legal. It's not alcohol.
Exactly.
But it does present a lot of gasoline for me. I don't even go to the gas stations for gasoline. I just go to the supermarket to get it.
Brian in Hudson's Bay writes in, and he says, loving the Motor City Madmouth. How does he think the Red Wings are going to do this year? Let's be honest. You're a Red Wings fan, not a Panthers fan.
I'm a Red Wings writer, but you can fan there a little bit. They'll get in the playoffs this year. They will. I'm not going to say that Vladimir Tarasenko is the answer to it. I think the biggest thing that will help the Red Wings is that they've been able to go out there and bolster their goaltending is what they've been able to do. That's what really seriously cost them last year. You had Alex Lyons doing something he wasn't able to do, and that's be the #1 goaltender to do it all by himself. He did a heck of a job most of the year, and if you could have 2 good goaltenders there like they have, and there's another guy, Sebastian Casa,
yeah.
Okay. This guy here will be a stud from what people up in Detroit will tell me. Once the Red Wings get stabilized behind the pipes, then I think that this team could be on a nice run. So as long as...
You just burped on the air. What are you, Howard Stern?
And that goes to show you. You burp, everybody cheers. Okay, it doesn't matter. At least the one thing is it's a hot mic with a burp. So I didn't do anything that was outrageous.
Anything goes here.
That's it. Anything goes. Hey, listen, is this an FCC-regulated show?
CRTC, actually.
Oh, that's CRTC. Oh, is that the
Canadian Radio Television Communication?
Okay, well, it's not FCC, but it's okay. I don't think that they're going to fine me for a beautiful beverage that keeps this energy flowing at all pace, so I can answer all your questions.
You're good. So there's his thing on the Red Wings. Basically, the long story, or the short story on that is they're going to make the playoffs, which I agree. Shane at Deer Valley writes in, and he says, Scott, tell us your Wally Buono story.
Okay, yeah, we'll tell you
Winningest coach in Canadian Football League history.
I wonder if anybody out there is familiar with Frank Lodato. He used to be a sports psychologist up in Canada. Frank would
I'm not.
Well, you're not, but maybe some of the folks out there probably are. Anyways, I met Frank over at Lockhart Stadium, which is now torn down, when FAU went out there and played there before they built their new stadium, and Frank and I became good friends. Well, as I got it back into internet radio from one of my mentors, Peter Ween, who passed away earlier this year, you know, he connected me with some people. So one of the guests I ended up with was Wally Buono, and we had Wally on, really great guy, you know, and I was able to go out there and bring him on. We talked about his career as the all-time winningest coach in Canada. I compared him to Don Shula here locally.
He'd have liked that.
Yeah, well, he did. No, I mean, it was a good show. It really was. I mean, you're talking about the all-time winningest coach in Canadian
CFL
football,
history, yeah.
right? And then Don Shula, who, by the way, when I first broke into the business, okay, I was like 20. I covered the Miami Dolphins, and Don Shula taught me a lot. Well, I mean, it was a great show on Peter Ween, is what we ended up doing. So, meanwhile, it was neat. There was a time when they wanted me to help them write a book, but I didn't know how to do it right away, and that never went through. But I tried to get him back on, but once Coach Bono went out and retired, then we weren't able to put together a second interview. But you know what? To have an opportunity to talk to a guy who's an iconic figure up in Canada and won everything on the planet, to me, is just totally unbelievable. It really, really is. And you know, I think the one thing I can say about sports is when you get those defining moments and you get those great interviews, to me, I think that that's what makes stories all about. And that's why I had so much fun writing my book, Lessons from the Microphone, because I was able to go out there and put a lot of those stories in, and why I'll write a second one, because you talk about the memories, how you broke in, and the stories are there. I only put about 12 pictures in this book because I wanted people to do a lot more reading, is what I wanted to do. But Wally Bono, to me, is a treasure up in Canada. He really is. And if I ever get the opportunity to talk to him again, knowing I have a book in my pocket, I will try to see if he wants to do it. If he doesn't, it doesn't matter. I'll say, hey, that's no big deal, Coach.
Yeah.
I'm only writing 3 more, so don't worry about it.
He should get, I don't know what that is in the America, but in Canada, it's the Order of Canada. And maybe he already has for like a distinguished Canadian citizen. Wally should get that, because you say what he means in Canada. To the sport of football, I believe he means just as much. By the way, from the audience, Carlos in Indianapolis writes in, he goes, well, technically the FCC monitors this show too, because you're broadcast on a radio station in Atlanta.
Well, that's okay.
Sure. Either way, we're not breaking any
FCC,
rules.
let me tell you, if the worst thing I've ever done that the FCC is going to do and tell me that I burp because I have Diet Coke, then Gomer Pyle would say, go away! Seriously? I'm not worried about this. This is my fuel to keep you people entertained. So FCC and I have always been friends. I've never been fined for anything, and I'll be darned if we're worried about my gasoline causing any disruption on the airwaves. But good point. I'm glad we had 31 states and an entire country that goes far and wide. And by the way, for all you Canadians, once in a while, what I do like your national anthem, and it drives my wife nuts. Every so often I do play it, because I am from Detroit, but I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Windsor to buy Pop Rocks and do all kinds of crazy things over there. So I feel like there's a little bit of Canada inside of me. Yes!
Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I love the Motor City Madmouth. Quite the character. You got that right. From the text line, 902-518-3033. He said he's a baseball guy through and through, and that's clear. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in, he says, I hope the Tigers can sweep the Stros, and clearly you do too. Yeah. Darcy in Grand Prairie writes in, he says, Rogers, that's the company that owns the Blue Jays,
right,
needs to take that Ohtani money and throw it at Soto. And what he means by that is the money they were going to give Shohei. He ended up going to the Dodgers, but they thought they were going to get him. He goes, plus extend Vladdy and Bo. Act like the big market that they are. That's Darcy in Grand Prairie. It's because, listen, you realize, and you just said Canada's just across the bridge there, right? Detroit and Windsor. The Blue Jays are Canada's team.
Well, sure they
And
are.
what did I tell you this morning? I said that the country's raging because they don't like Ross Atkins, and quite frankly, I don't really either. I like Shapiro less. Nice that they're keeping Don Mattingly, your personal friend. But everybody's got
not
an
a
opinion.
bad friend to have, is it?
Not a bad friend to have. But it's just, they have spent. Here's what I see with the Blue Jays. And you said you wanted a little time to research this. And I get it. I think the window's closed for this regime. And we talked about this yesterday. They took their swing for the fences, and they didn't hit a home run.
I'm not so sure about that, and I'll tell you why. Because, number one, this person makes a pretty good point. Okay, you're talking Ohtani money invested in this.
Yeah, if you have it, yeah.
Yeah, why not? That's number one. And number two, now you keep Vladdy. What's going to matter? He wants to be there. And then what? Who's the other one that you asked about?
Bo Bichette.
Yeah, all right. So you got 3 quality players. Toronto, we talk about me being from Canada. They're only 45 minutes away from Buffalo, too. Once upon a time during COVID-19, that's where they played, was over in Buffalo. So, and of course, I've heard many conversations where the NFL should have a team in Toronto, and you had Buffalo, that would never happen, but they played exhibition games there anyhow. So I don't necessarily think that the window could totally close, but they do have to invest into the team. They really do. Think about it. When the Toronto Raptors won the NBA title, don't sit here and tell me that all of Canada didn't rejoice, because they did.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't care. The Toronto Raptors, ended up winning it all. Sure. I mean, the only Canadian team you have, and they ended up winning it all. And they beat the Golden State Warriors doing it. Not like they beat somebody that was there for the first time. So, I still think there's a little bit of a window, and within the next year or two, you find out what you have. But if they've got the money, like you're saying, then why not take a shot at it? So I don't know enough about the regime at all, but I can tell you right now, if they smell another year or two, then you know what you've got.
From the audience, David in Winnipeg. He's David number 1 in Winnipeg. He says, I love the Motor City Madmouth and his energy. Fantastic co-host. It's not going to your head, is it?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Bomber Boy, who's had a lot to say today. He says, my dad, who's a lifelong Rider fan, always called him Wally Bonehead. Yeah, Rider fans are going to say that. But here's the interesting thing. I interviewed Wally one-on-one. This is we're sitting here today in the Grand Ballroom at the Hotel Saskatchewan. And I said, what are your regrets, Wally? And he goes, not many. He goes, but I would have always liked to have coached the Saskatchewan Roughriders, because we're referred to as the Dallas Cowboys of the CFL, right? We were or are. And I thought that was funny. You always want what you can't have. I was thinking about this the other day. Ryan Getzlaff, Anaheim Ducks great, spent his whole career in Anaheim. Same thing, interviewing him. I said, what regrets do you have, Ryan? He goes, I would have always liked to play for a Canadian team. Then you got the players playing for the Canadian NHL teams that say we can't get a second's privacy. With the exhibition games are crazy. I can't believe that would be a regret of Wally's or regret of Ryan's. But I guess that's just the way people are.
Well, maybe.
I don't have any regrets.
Well, here's the thing. If you're revered in Canada, yes, Canada. I used to joke around with my wife. My country, yes.
Where it's came from.
No, well, again, you say my voice booms and out there. I kid around with that because Windsor is close by anyways. And we also have the Windsor Spitfires, too, once upon a time.
Yep. They're still there.
Yeah, they are. But my point really is that if they're revered in Canada, why not? I mean, take it all there, because if anybody's ever watched the Rocky films, when they're done chanting your name, enjoy it while you've got it.
Right.
Because nobody's going to always chant your name and enjoy that you're entertaining in front of thousands and thousands of people. So I have no problem with that. Let's face it, I still think the CFL should have 10 teams instead of 9. Didn't I hear there was a possibility they'd have one in a Maritime?
We don't like to talk about it because it's never going to happen.
Well, I know, but here, I'm the new guy on the block, so I'm only going to make a quick statement on it, and I'll go back to what else. I think they should have at least 10 teams, balance it out 5-5, and that's the end of that.
You're preaching to the choir.
Okay.
We talked about it so much that we've stopped talking about it because it doesn't look like it's ever going to happen.
Okay.
But that's the.
But that's you. This is my first rodeo in here. And I won't say it again, but it's my first rodeo.
And I want to make you feel at home here. I want to.
Oh, you're doing that with the Diet Cokes and everybody. The only one that ever mentioned the burping was you.
No, Freddie in Winnipeg has written back.
Okay. All right, so
he says, thanks, Rod. There's the meme today, Scott burping on live TV.
Okay.
How about
He goes, you now know what a meme is.
Yeah, I didn't know buddy, I didn't know what a meme was, and I probably never will know what one is anyways, but I'm not worried about it. If that's the worst thing that I've ever done in my life, oh, Nelly. I think that one comes from Keith Jackson, right?
Yeah, and he says, yeah, I guess so. He says, go Detroit Lions, even though I'm a Bears fan. Please ask how far his Lions will go this year. Have a great day, boys. Hang on. We have to break. We'll be right back. Adam Burke joining us later on, managing editor from VSIN Live. We are live on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, streaming live on YouTube, and, of course, Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join veteran NHL coach Lauren Mulliken, Rough Riders great Bob Poley, and Paralympic curler Gil Dash, and me at the first ever Wolseley Celebrity Sports Dinner on Saturday, October 19th. A night of stories, laughs, and a great dinner, all benefiting the Wolseley Sportsplex. For tickets, email wolseley.arenaboard@gmail.com, and I'll see you there. I booked my flight yesterday, coming back to Canada for that weekend, and I'm very excited about it. The Motor City Madmouth, Scott Morganroth, is with us from the South Florida Tribune. From the audience, Brent in Wellington, Florida, who you're going to meet him. He writes in and he says, I'm sponsoring a 12-pack of Mountain Dew for the Madmouth next time he's in the show.
Make it Diet Mountain Dew, buddy.
I don't even know they made Diet Mountain Dew.
How about that?
From the Puck and Pigskin podcast in Red Deer, Alberta, he says, we can't give the Maritimes a CFL team because then Calgary would want one.
How about that?
He says, I can joke about it because they're my team. Bomber Boys paid $5 he dropped for this comment. Get the Motormouth to sing the first line of O Canada.
Okay. Oh, Canada, my home and native land.
Our home and native land, but close enough.
Our home or my home?
Our home and native.
What did I say?
My home and
Well,
native.
see, I was taking ownership of it.
It's all,
Here, I'll do a replay.
it's all good. No, you're good. You got it.
Well, I guess he doesn't want me to break a Memorex glass.
Jeremy in Winnipeg writes in, and he says, if the Red Wings didn't slip when they had a big lead, they make the playoffs easily last year. They can do it again. People forget and see this roster like, meh, but I don't think people realize how full the cupboard is. They're loaded with talent coming up. They're a few years away. That's one thing about the Red Wings. Again, that's your team. You've been covering them for years. You're from Detroit.
Right.
They got a lot of fans, man. Got a lot of fans.
Oh, listen, there's a reason why they're called Hockey Town.
Yeah.
Right? What made
You been to that rink?
Yeah, I actually have. It's a really cool place. Yeah, in fact, they only made the playoffs 25 straight years. It's not bad. I can count that high. In fact, you know what? Now that you mentioned rinks, I went to the old Olympia Stadium many years ago.
How was that?
Loved it. Loved it. Hated to see it go. In fact, my last game that I ever went there was the Red Wings Old Timers against the Red Wings. And I'll never forget the time when Jimmy Rutherford was a goaltender for the Red Wings.
How was
and
it?
I shook his hand. And he used to actually be on my show, Sports Talk, years ago as a guest. And it was just so great that I got to see him play that last game. And then, of course, Joe Louis Arena. I went there a lot. Now Little Caesar Arena is great. And they have the practice rink inside of the building. It's just an unbelievable building. If you've never been there, put that on your bucket list.
Listen, folks, this is going to blow your mind, especially those that are watching or listening from the Regina area, because that's where I spent a quarter century. That's where the bulk of our audience is. And so he's a Detroit guy. So when I mention the names like Mort Krim and Carmen Harlan and Bernie Smatovich, Mitch Albom, you know who you're friends probably with all of them.
Well,
you know all of them.
Well, I'll tell you what. Mitch Albom.
These are all media people, for those that don't know.
Right. Well, good point. Mitch Albom and I used to be colleagues here in South Florida. He used to work for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. And then, of course, I went back there. So I've known Mitch a long time. Mort Krim, I don't think I've ever met him, but he is a friend of mine on Facebook.
Legend.
Oh, yeah. And another lady that I actually stay in touch with, believe it or not, is a lady by the name of Mary Conway, who actually used to work for Channel 7. I used to get to hang out with Bill Bonds during the Detroit
Legend
Pistons era. Oh, Bill and I used to shoot the breeze all the time. And who was the other one?
Bernie Smatovich.
You know what? I didn't see Bernie a lot.
Weekend at Bernie's.
What's that?
Weekend at Bernie's. That was the highlights.
Yeah, that's okay. That's probably all he did. I never saw him at the rink anyways.
Yeah, he sat behind the desk. Like
exactly. That's why I didn't see him very much. One of my favorites all time was Fred McLeod. He was really great. You know, the one news lady that I really, really loved was Diana Lewis, who also starred in the first Rocky film.
Okay.
And she's actually listed in my book.
Oh, we should talk about your book, but before we do, the reason this all came up was before the show. Mel Farr.
Right.
Senior. What's the name of his car lot?
Mel Farr Superstar.
He's the guy in the cape that does the crazy commercials from his car dealership. You work with this kid.
Yeah.
He works for you.
Yeah, he works for me. On 108 Stitches Baseball Talk on Tuesday around 8:15 Eastern Time, South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Look it up, folks. South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Subscribe. If you haven't had enough of me tonight or more, go to South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. It's easy. Even my cat Bucky or my other cat Boots could do it. All I have to do is put their paw right on the subscribe button. I know all you people, intelligent people, can do it as well.
Mel Farr Superstar. There you go. From Jason in Red Deer, he says, forgive me if I missed it, but did you ever meet Sparky Anderson?
Oh, I worked with him. Yeah, I worked with Sparky. In fact, that's a great question. Thanks a lot for bringing that up. I got to know Sparky a lot during spring training. I'll never forget the time, though, during spring training where I dropped my tape recorder during the national anthem. I thought I was going to lose him. Sparky puts his hand on. It's okay. I'll wait. And he's great. I mean, Sparky was one of the nicest people I've ever interviewed, and God love him. You know, I used to work with him a lot during spring training. So whenever I needed something, he was great. One of my all-time favorites, too, was Jim Leland, Tigers. Jim was great, too. You know, I've had a lot of great relationships with the Detroit Tigers. One of the guys I really enjoyed, and I had him on a show, was a guy by the name of Mickey Lolich. And for those of you that are watching the Tigers, the number 29 worn by Tarek Skubal, it used to be worn by Mickey Lolage. But to answer your question, yeah, Sparky was unbelievable.
Now would be a good time to talk about your book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders, forward written by George Eichhorn. What do people need to know about this?
Well, they need to know about it. Old school media versus new school media. If you didn't know a lot about it before, you'll learn about how it used to be in the day versus how it's changed tremendously. I have a lot of stories about some of my top interviews in there, how we talk about how things were done in the past and how times have changed, where you have podcasts on. You know, you talk about some of the changes with the PR people, how one-on-one interviews used to be a lot easier to get than they are now. And nowadays, you have to build relationships and make friends with certain PR people. I even list some of my all-time favorite PR people as well, because there are a lot of people, if it weren't for them cooperating with me, I wouldn't have had enough stories to put in this book. So it's a very wide-range book. It's the type of book where everybody can read it. Why do I say that? If you don't know much about the media, you're going to learn. If you want to know a lot of things about it now, you can learn. But it also talks about the ethics that I've tried to employ about making sure you get facts accurate. There is no way in any way, shape, or form that any boss will tell me to talk about something inaccurate, because I will never do it. That thing called integrity matters everything to me. It really does. I don't need that extra click to go out there and draw somebody's attention. I'd rather have a few less clicks, but get it right, no factual errors, than have to go out there and just to appease somebody, just to give them what they want. If you can't appreciate accuracy and integrity and no factual errors, then you won't appreciate this book, because that's what I stand for. And there's an old ABC guy by the name of Frank Reynolds who I go out there and mention. I won't give you the story. I think that's something that you can get on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, as well as other places. And you can also get that book on my website as well, www.southfloridatribune.com. The information to get the book is there. So it's something that everybody can learn from if you're interested in knowing about the inner workings of the business.
We got some great stuff coming in for the Motor City Madmouth, and I told him that I'm a God guy, and I said this morning it's a God thing. Scott and I were going to have a meeting here in the studio this morning anyways, and Moose DuPont bailed because of travel things. I said it was the universe, and God slapping me in the face saying, get Scott on the air. So it's introducing him to our viewers and our audience, of which we have many, and Scott's becoming quickly one of my best friends down here, and it's getting to be a friendship where it's like, we don't even really remember how it started. But it said, you said you were.
I know how it started.
No, I do too. But
well, no. Give
20
him a
years
story.
from now, we're going to go.
No, give him a story. Hold it. I'm up in North Carolina, and this guy's giving me some information about restaurants to eat up in North Carolina while I was on a business trip. So I'm thinking, this guy's a pretty cool guy. He's giving me information about places to eat in North Carolina. Boom, we kept talking, and lo and behold, and by the way, it was Moose DuPont that was supposed to be in here?
Yeah. Yes.
Here, I'll give you a Gomer Pyle. Go away! I mean, the Motor City Madmouth is replacing Moose DuPont, who was on the Broad Street Bullies. Seriously? Really? Good stuff. Now I'm glad. Hey, Moose, here's a burp on you. No, I don't know how to do it anymore. I think I've already had it.
I feel like that's not how we met, but let's stick with
you
that.
were commenting on my Instagram.
Yeah,
Listen, I'm not very big on Instagram. I don't know enough about it, but I'm learning. But, it takes me forever to learn that stuff.
Okay, I told him to go to Midwoods Barbecue, which...
That's what it was.
Did you go there?
Yeah, I did.
What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's the best that we've ever been at. But I thought it was you reached out to me and said, we need a hockey guy, and you're at all the hockey games. Would you be interested in covering the Panthers for us? That's what I feel like.
Yeah, that's after you went out there and suggested the restaurant place.
Okay.
The guy, listen, here, as Paul Harvey would say, let me give you the rest of the story.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah, the guy's referring me to a place to eat. You can be my hockey guy. And let me tell you one thing about this guy, okay? Now he's really good on the air, but he's a damn good writer. One of the best I've ever seen.
Thank you. My mom said, she's not with us anymore, but she goes, you will be known for your pen before all is said and done, before the written, spoken word, I believe is what I was like a teenager when she said it. Wayne, we have time for one more story here before we bring on Adam Burke from VSIN Live in Vegas. Wayne says, did Scott ever meet Gordie Howe?
Absolutely. And if you get my book, you'll see a picture with myself and Gordie Howe in it. I have another one on my Facebook as well. But the one in my book, I'll give you guys a little tip, okay? I'm at the Pontiac Silverdome, and we all know that Gordie Howe used to like to go out there and give elbows, okay? I mean, I'll tell you, he gave you an elbow, it hurt from people. I could tell you stories that most of these players today could never play in the original six era. But you know what? I was in a sling at the time, so Gordie Howe gave me an elbow to the jaw while my arm was in a sling, and it was unbelievable. And that photo is in the book, folks. That's another reason why to get lessons from the microphone, okay? So you can see that photo up there from Gordie Howe, and that was at the Pontiac Silverdome.
I'll bet. By the way, go to SouthFloridaTribune.com.
In fact, you know what? Go ahead. Pull it out here and look for the photo real quick.
I was just looking at it
That's
this
what
morning.
their appetite here.
Keep talking, Scott.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm telling you what. That photo is something I think to myself, holy moly, this is unreal. Don't worry, he'll get to the photo. There you go. Show it out here. So the man behind the burp, here's a photo that you'll remember about the Gordie Howe picture. And I believe I have a picture
It's the top photo with Gordon Howe in the middle. You are in the dark shirt. Who's the other guy?
George Eichhorn. Or no, the other guy was Bob Reynolds. George Eichhorn was way in the back. Bob Reynolds is a legendary Lions announcer, and I was good friends with Bob years ago, too. So now there you have it, folks. Gordie Howe and the Motor City Madmouth in that particular book. And I'm telling you, Gordie's a great guy.
Of course.
And I got another photo with him years ago, recently in Coral Springs, Florida, while he was signing from Memorabilia Shop. Without the sling, by the way.
Gordon Howe from Floral, Saskatchewan. This has been awesome, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you. He's going to tag along a little later on when we do Cats and Bolts podcast from Podcast Junkie Studios. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, I'm going to have to buy that book. Again, go to SouthFloridaTribune.com. I think that's the best easiest way to go.
You got it.
The links are all on there, but you can go to Amazon as well. When we come back, now you got me burping. Adam Burke joins us from Las Vegas and VSIN Live. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, live streaming on YouTube, also Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit.
As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
RP Show continues, brought to you in part by our good friends at EMJ Marketing. Connect with thought leaders and industry experts through EMJ Marketing Speakers Bureau. Visit them at emjmarketing.com. Well, I'm excited, always excited to go to Vegas. Adam Burke is the managing editor of VSIN Live. He can do a variety of sports, but NHL's his thing now. Their betting guide is out, and Adam joins us today on the RP Show. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. Good to be with you guys.
Good to be with you. Adam, let me tell you this. I got my NHL All-Star shirt on. Hockey is always at the forefront of my heart. How about for you and the guys at VSIN with the betting guide out? Does it feel a little like Christmas to you guys right now?
Yeah, it actually felt a lot like Christmas for me. So I played growing up. I played in high school and then played some men's league, once I got done with that. But I kind of went away from the game a little bit. With my career, football is obviously so important in the sports betting world. So, it's hard to have time to do all of these different sports markets because I also do college basketball and quite a bit of that. So it was good to get back to the NHL this year, put out the guide, do some research. There was a lot of research and analysis put into the guide. And, it was nice to get back to the game and feel like I reconnected with it a little bit.
Well, I'm excited to talk to you sort of what your prognostications are. I feel like everybody's got different ones here because everybody's in first place. Let's be honest, right now we're still about a week or so away from the regular season starting. But people that purchase the betting guide and look it up from VSIN, what are they going to find and what are the findings here as we go into the season?
Yeah, so there's team previews for all 32 teams. Of course, Arizona now in Utah's the Utah Hockey Club. So we got 32 teams across the NHL, and I previewed every single one of them, gave some thoughts on, new acquisitions, what's going on in net. I focused a lot on 5-on-5 play because that's the most common game state, obviously. So, I was looking at teams that are maybe in line for some positive or negative regression from an even strength 5-on-5 standpoint. Got some best bets in there as well, a couple point totals, some things in the futures and awards markets as well. So it's just a comprehensive look at the NHL for this season. And every team got a little bit of pub. Every team got a little bit of write-ups, but I wouldn't say every team got a bit of love, Rod. There's some teams out there that I'm definitely lower on than others.
How much can you share? I don't want you to scoop yourself here, but now you got me intrigued. What's your number one best bet for the season, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I think my favorite bet for the season here is the Anaheim Ducks under 70.5 points. This is a team that, while they've had some high draft picks, I don't really feel like they've kind of maximized the potential that's been at the top of the draft classes for them. And more specifically, I just don't like their goaltending. John Gibson is a very old 31. Lucas Dostal did not play well last year for this team either. So, they had a couple of the worst goaltenders in the NHL, specifically at 5-on-5. And so this is a team that I don't think is going to score a whole lot of goals, a team that I don't think is going to get a whole lot of good goaltending. And I realize that the Pacific Division has some questions. And of course, we'll see if Macklin Celebrini is going to be out long-term for San Jose at all. But, I think San Jose will be better. I think Calgary will be better. Obviously the top teams in the Pacific will be good. I think the Ducks are the team that kind of gets left behind. So I like them under 70.5 points here for the regular season. I just don't see how they make a 12-point jump from where they were last year.
I'll tell you what, as a guy who's written some books myself, if you wrote that betting guide and those previews, then you know it inside out. And I really want to know your thoughts on Utah
in year one? Because I get the sense that people are thinking it's an expansion team. They're going to do a Vegas thing and go all the way to the Stanley Cup. I'm like, no, it's the Arizona Coyotes, and they're not going to make the playoffs, I don't think. But I'm seeing there's big bets going on whether Utah makes the playoffs or not. I'm assuming you don't, but maybe you do.
No, look, this is a team that's expected to be better. If you look at their point total from last season, 77 points. If you look at the betting market right now, their over-under point total is 87.5. So they are expected to improve. And I think maybe people are just kind of assuming, look, this is a better situation going to Salt Lake City. They're going to have, a much better home ice advantage, all these different types of things. But yeah, to me, this is still a team that, is very young, is still trying to grow up a little bit. And I have major concerns about what happens in net with them. Connor Ingram played well last year, but how sustainable is that? Rookie goaltenders, second-year guys, third-year guys, stuff like that, they wind up having holes, or they wind up wearing down as they play a little bit more. So I'm curious to see what Ingram does here as kind of an encore off of a pretty good performance last year. But, I mean, that division is loaded, and they're definitely the weakest in net, in that Central Division, I would say, or maybe the second weakest. So, yeah, while they are probably going to feel better about themselves, have more fans in the building, actually have some certainty with their situation, stuff like that. I still don't know about the talent level of this team, and specifically the experience level of this team to get through the 82-game season.
Out of all of that, and I loved all the analysis, the word that I take away from it the most is they're young. They're young, and it's really, really, really hard to make the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's hard, and it just, yeah, talent, yes, but they're a ways away. David, number one in Winnipeg, writes in, and I appreciate his question. He says, what is Adam's take on the Winnipeg Jets this season?
Well, I mean, when you have Connor Hellebuck, you always have a chance, right? I mean, that's an elite level goaltender right there. And there are some questions about this team, but look, I mean, they had the best goal differential 5-on-5 last year. They only gave up 121 goals at 5-on-5. Hellebuck has a lot to do with that. The system that they play has a lot to do with that as well. And when you can prevent the other team from scoring 5-on-5, you give yourself a really good chance night in and night out. And obviously you have to kill penalties when those things pop up, but if you're going to give up 121 5-on-5 goals in 82 games, you're going to have a lot of chances to win. And so this is a team that's just really stout defensively. As long as Hellebuck stays healthy, they'll be a team that should make the playoffs. They're minus 200 to do so. So 2-1 favorite to make the playoffs here. Sure, I think that, we could see maybe the offense kind of tail off a little bit. And I'll be curious to see, if they open things up a little more under Scott Arniel. But again, just with their defensive style of play, this is the type of team where maybe the ceiling isn't super high, but the floor will always be very high. And that's a very reliable type of team to bet on.
I get that they're riddled with anxiety in Winnipeg. They always are. But I'm a believer in the Jets. I got to make them the playoffs in a walk. How far they go, that's another story. But it's like we won't even talk about that until the spring. I'm kind of dying to get your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Lightning. I was on a Twitter space last night covering the Lightning, analyzing the Lightning. I'm here in South Florida. I don't have them. Actually, I'm not going to tell you. You tell me. Where do you have them in the Atlantic Division?
So I would say this. In terms of what I'm calling the medium shots to win the Stanley Cup, they're in the 25-1 range at a lot of places. This would be my favorite play in that range. I do realize that they've had a lot of roster turnover here. And of course they have to replace Steven Stamkos, and, we'll see if they'll be able to do that. I think that they should. I think Jake Gensel is going to be a really nice addition for this team. But the biggest thing to me is Andrei Vasilevsky was bad last year by his standards. And while his standards are exceptional, he was barely a top 30 goaltender last season in terms of goals against average, save percentage. The advanced metrics didn't look very favorably upon him either. I think a lot of it just had to do with getting hurt prior to the start of the season, not really being able to get into the year the way that he's accustomed to, not being able to, just kind of get that rhythm and get those reps early on. And as we know, a lot of guys that get hurt early on in the season, they're going to rush to get back, or they're going to try to do a little bit too much. Vasilevsky just had a really off year by his standards, and I think he will get back to being a top 10 goaltender in this league. And if he's able to do that, we know Braden Point can score. As long as Nikita Kucherov's healthy, we know he's going to put up big numbers. And I think Gensel replaces some of that Stamkos production. So I think the Lightning will be just fine. And I think Vasilevsky is a guy that, will probably be a Vezina contender once again.
I love that. Dude, you and I we could eat up some minutes on a show together. Do you want me to read this VSIN info, or do you want to do it?
Go for it.
Do you have it? Okay, this
I don't
came
have
from,
it, but I always appreciate a hype man. So
yeah, I can do it. I've been called worse. I've been called that and worse in my life. Greg McIsaac forwarding this along. Adam wrote VSIN's 2024 NHL Betting Guide with everything bettors and fans need to prepare for the new season, including a preview of all 32 teams, Stanley Cup futures odds, and best bets. For this week only, new users can get their VSIN Pro subscription for 40% the regular $175 football special price. Using discount code ADAM, you'll have access to VSIN's 24/7 channel, special betting guides, pro betting tips, and more through the Super Bowl. Visit vsin.com/subscribe for more. Just what's the universe telling you is going to be the Stanley Cup final, Adam?
I'm having a really, really hard time with the Western Conference because, I think obviously Edmonton is fantastic up front, but I still don't know about Stuart Skinner. I don't know about this team having played the huge workload that they had last year and how they're able to kind of bounce back from that. So I don't know about the Western Conference. Edmonton is the favorite. I still think Colorado is a very, very good team, but obviously they need to find a way to stay healthy, which has been tricky for them. Dallas is dangerous as well. But my favorite team is Carolina. I think this is the year that Carolina really breaks through for Rod Brind'Amour. All of their numbers look so positive, 5-on-5, expected goals against, stuff like that. I think Kochetkov is actually a decent bet to win the Vezina. You can find him out there. I believe it was 50-1 or so. A guy who really hadn't played much in the lead up to last season, and I think he'll get a lot of opportunity with Freddie Anderson and his health and the workload that he's able to have. So Carolina is my favorite pick to win the Cup, so they'd be my team out of the Eastern Conference. And I'm going to say Dallas out of the West. I just think Dallas, their style of play, what they get from Ottinger, I think they're just a really, really solid team, and I think they have fewer vulnerabilities than the Oilers have.
My guy Michael Gregory is watching in Louisiana. He writes in and says, "Let's go Panthers." We'll talk about the Cats next time you're on, Adam. Hey, this has been awesome. Thanks, my dude. What do you smoke a pack of smokes before you came on today? What's with that radio voice you got?
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's just my God-given voice. I've actually never smoked a cigarette in my life, so I don't know. I guess I'm just lucky.
Me either, but my voice isn't as deep. Okay, Adam, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it. Enjoy the hockey.
Thanks, Rod. Have a good one.
Adam Burke, managing editor from VSIN Live. Overtime's coming up next. One last sports update and one last viewer takeover right after this on Game Plus TV, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you. IKS Live continues to bring you the best seat in the house.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Sounds like he knows what he's doing a little bit. As long as you're entertained. Aren't you entertained?
Welcome to the Create Space at IKS Media. Meetings, podcasts, studio. Whether you're here to collaborate or educate, our versatile meeting places, workspaces, and studios await. Your next big idea starts here. Make our space your space. The Create Space at IKS.
Hi, my name's Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
I'll tell you what, now we got 5 minutes left in this segment, and for you CFL fans, now's the time. We're not going to be talking CFL with Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Obviously, it's not his thing, but it is my thing. Poll question today is, what is Canada's game of the week? In the Canadian Football League, there are only 3 games, and running away with it is Winnipeg at Hamilton. There's reasons for all of them to be Canada's game of the week, but that is the battle of the 2 hottest teams in the league. Winnipeg at Hamilton, Friday night, must-win game for Calgary. Later Friday night, home to the BC Lions, and then Saturday, Saskatchewan at Edmonton. And there were a lot of Rider fans writing into the show today saying the Riders can clinch with a win. We know. We know. And we'll be previewing those games the closer we get to the weekend. But there are other sports, too. And we're on national television across Canada, 31 U.S. states. They want to know about the Blue Jays. Team president Mark Shapiro says Blue Jays general manager Ross Atkins will continue in his current role. Shapiro told the media today it was an incredibly disappointing season, but notes Atkins guided the team to the playoffs in 3 of the last 5 years. Toronto finished last in the American League East this past season at 74-88. Blue Jays struggled over the first half of the campaign, were sellers at the trade deadline, and spent the last 3 months of the season in last place. Shapiro says he's confident that next year will be much better. Cue the outrage across Canada. All I will say is I don't like where they are and where they're going either. All we can do is voice our displeasure as fans and media, and they're going to do what they're going to do. What are you going to do? Stop going? Stop watching? No. 3 home teams and 1 on the road will fight to avoid elimination today in the teams that are still playing the American and National Best-of-3 wildcard series. In Tuesday's openers, Detroit upset Houston 3-1, Kansas City edged Baltimore 1-0, and the New York Mets topped Milwaukee 8-4. Those were the road teams. The only home team to win, San Diego. They blanked visiting Atlanta 4-0. So game 2 in all those series go today in the same parks. 5 games are on tap in the NHL preseason tonight, highlighted by an all-Canadian clash in Winnipeg as the Jets host the Red-Hot Flames. I did have 2 seconds to read the game notes on that game tonight, other than to say this is the last home game of the preseason for the Jets. These 2 teams will close it out Friday night in Calgary. 6 preseason games only for Winnipeg. 8 here for the Panthers. It's just weird to me. Scott publishes the South Florida Tribune, the Motor City Madmouth, and I wrote about it in my weekly column there for his newspaper, where I said, how is it that one league, in the league, you got one team playing 8 preseason games and another team playing 6? I don't understand, and I'm shocked that's allowed to happen. Jets have 1 win in 4 starts. It doesn't matter what your preseason record is. Stop it. Also tonight, the Edmonton Oilers visit Seattle. The sports update is brought to you by Landmark Cinemas. Get more of what you love with the Landmark Extras Rewards program. Free movies and concession items, invitations to exclusive screenings, special events, and more. There are 3 rewarding programs to choose from to get you something extra with every movie purchase you make. Check out landmarkcinemas.com to register for free today. BW in Edmonton says, have a great day, you people. From Billings, Montana. Can we get a sound effect? Throw out any sound effect for the you people. We got to get one. Anything, Clark, whatever you hit first.
Hell yes.
Ding, ding, ding.
That'll work. Carlos in Indianapolis says, what a fun show this has been. Hope to see more of the Motor City Madmouth in the future. He's a trip. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, that was a great RP show today. Have a fantastic day, everyone. If you think Scott and I work well together, you can join us tomorrow night on the Fire Up Florida podcast. That's his show over there. And I'm writing for his newspaper every week. And yeah, not surprising that we have conflicting stories as to how we met. It's one of those friendships. And when I came back here to Florida after Labor Day weekend, I jumped in full feet. And it's been great. It's home and great people. He's one of them. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in. He says, Hamilton, Edmonton, and Calgary are all must-wins. I know. Hamilton's not must-win, I don't think. They don't get eliminated if they lose, right? Gives us something to talk about tomorrow. See ya, Puck and Pigskin podcast, and everybody else tomorrow right here at noon.
Who has more fun than us?